Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Turning now to a newer case we've been following here at Court TV of two Kansas moms who were killed in Oklahoma. Now, the bodies of Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley were identified earlier this week. Now, the two women have been missing since the end of March. Their car was found in a rural area near the Kansas state line. Investigators say Kelley was married to a preacher and that she was accompanying Butler to pick up Butler's children from a birthday party. And officials say the women were targeted. Police arrested 4 people in connection with the murders. One of the suspects, 54-year-old Tiffany Adams, is the grandmother of Butler's children, and she also had custody of them. Investigators also say the motive may have been a custody dispute. Sydney Batsloff with KFDA TV brings us the latest from the suspect's arraignment.
Do you have any remorse? Did you do it?
Did you murder those women?
Do you have anything to say to the children whose mothers are murdered?
Why?
One by one, each suspect was led inside the Texas County Courthouse, wearing handcuffs, leg shackles, and a bulletproof vest, showing their face for the first time since the brutal killings to Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelley's families.
Just no justice is served.
All 4 suspects are facing charges that include 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. The prosecutors said the suspects lured Butler and Kelley to Highway 95 and Road L and took them to another location where they died from injuries.
How can you hate somebody so much that you want to kill them? How can you hate the mother of your grandchildren so much that you want to end her life? That was not fair to her. That's not fair to our family.
It's not fair to Jillian's family either.
Inside the courtroom that isn't allowing cameras, Butler's father was seen lunging toward all 4 suspects, shouting profanities. The suspects showed little emotion. From my seat in the courtroom, I saw Court Twombly shake her head no as charges were read aloud. Prosecutors say the death penalty is a possibility for all suspects if convicted. Even for law enforcement, this case is hitting home.
We're not robots. We are human beings, and we have emotions. So I'm getting emotional.
Now, the suspects are alleged to be all part of an anti-government group calling themselves God's misfits. All are being held without bond and are expected back in court on May 15th. All right, joining us still to discuss, National Trial Attorney David Yena and Los Angeles Trial Attorney Miguel Custodio. David, I'll start with you. Just want to get your thoughts initially about this case. This one reminds me of a case we had a while back on Court TV. It was called the Pike County Murders. One family, there were custody issues, and basically one family, the Wagner family, were all on trial because they ended up killing, all got convicted, killing the family, the entire family, 8 people, of a girl who didn't want to give up custody of a child. Just this kind of stuff blows my mind.
Yeah, it's sad. We see this stuff too often, most times between the parents, but here obviously a grandparent involved. And, you know, what gets lost in the sauce, now you have 2 children who don't have a mother. Now we have more family, including their grandmother, that's not going to be in their lives if convicted. So it's just, the children are the biggest victims in all this, obviously. It's very sad.
Yeah, and Miguel, that's the part that kind of gets me, is this idea that there's the grandmother, right? Her son is not around. He wasn't married to this woman, but had children with her. He was in rehab. So he's killing the mother of these children. And that's not something that sort of registers with these folks when they go out. Again, innocent to proven guilty, but we'll go over some of the evidence they currently have, which really points to guilt in this case, of course, provided by the prosecution. But your thoughts quickly.
Well, in a lot of custody battles, and especially when there's violence involved or murders, one side, usually the side that's being alleged to have committed the murders, are in dispute with the other parent or family member because they think that that person is not suitable to spend time with the children, either supervised or unsupervised. But yet, by committing this crime, if they are guilty, what happens is that the children are then going to have to go into a foster system or some government thing like that, and that just really defeats the whole purpose. I mean, if you were really looking out for, the kid's safety, why would you kill the mom. I mean, if anything, just go to court and try to deny them custody that way. But here we are.
Yeah, I think Tiffany, at least according to some of the evidence, wasn't necessarily happy with the way things in court were going. They were going to court. They didn't like the way things were going. But when you talk about protecting the kids, David, here's one of the things that has come out. Apparently there was a report by Child Services that the brother of the mother who was living in the home was known to have sexually assaulted the kids, or there was some evidence that this had happened. And this is why the grandmother was so bent upon not allowing the kids to go back with this mother. Not that this is a mitigating factor in any way, but when you talk about reasons behind it, this is where we end up a lot of times. It's about protecting the kids from some danger that they believe exists somewhere else.
Yeah, so there's processes for that, right? CPS gets involved, the court gets involved. There's a whole process you need to go through. Killing someone to allegedly protect these children is just outrageous. You know, I've practiced in family law before. There's so much emotion involved, especially with children involved, and especially with allegations like these. But oftentimes they are unsubstantiated and they aren't true. And even if they are true, there's a process for that. There's things in place to protect those children. And you obviously can't take the law into your own hands. And like we mentioned, it's probably going to hurt them more in the end.
Yeah, it's this idea that to take the law in their own hands. This group, these God's misfits, one of the things that sort of, you know, we talked about it there, they were anti-government. So, you know, a lot of folks in these areas, and one of the attorneys who used to represent Tiffany Adams said that they really didn't believe in, or they believed in sort of independence, taking care of things themselves. This is what you get when this happens. Let me just quickly go through some of the evidence. Apparently, Tiffany bought some stun guns and burner phones in the weeks leading up to the situation. She basically told police that Butler had called and said she couldn't make it when they were wondering where she was. Well, she knew differently. She was the last one to communicate with Butler. And also, she had made threats to them as well. So all of this is sort of in the pot. And the daughter of one of the people arrested said that she heard them talking about this. So Miguel, when you talk about some of the evidence, as I said earlier, innocent to proven guilty, but things seem to be piling up here against this group.
Especially the testimony that were the evidence from the daughter that she gave to police investigators, saying that the family was part of this misfits group, and that there had been an attempt to kill the mother back in February. And obviously these things start piling up, and it just starts looking really grim for the defendants, because if your own daughter is kind of turning you over to the cops, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, and you know, protecting kids, sure, it's a noble thing. This is not the way you go about it. That's not going to be useful to them at all in court. All right, gentlemen, stand by. It is time to take a break. Coming up next.